This is Kababalaghan 101, your home for creative stories for all supernatural, from the Philippine mythology and folklore. The Serpent's Pearl. In the heart of an ancient forest deep in Samar Island, where shadows danced between ancient trees and whispers of forgotten magic lingered in the air, a mystical gem called a carbuncle can be found. This story tells of the heroic Sitrong who bore the magical carbuncle upon its forehead, and his friends as they fight to protect the forest from the threat of men, monsters, and magic.
Chapter 5, Devour the light. As Datu's shadow army surged forward, and Sitrong and his friends braced for what seemed like their final stand, a sudden hush fell over the forest. The very air trembled with anticipation, as if Maganhan itself was holding its breath. Suddenly, the trees around the clearing began to emit a soft, ethereal glow. Leaves shimmered with an inner light, creating a mesmerizing dance of green and gold illumination throughout the forest. The light grew stronger, pulsing in rhythm with the very heartbeat of Maganhan. At the center of the clearing, Lolo-Ammihan's ancient form creaked and groaned. Her branches, usually still and majestic, began to move with purpose. They twisted and intertwined, bending in impossible ways to form an intricate, circular pattern in the air. Sitrong watched in awe as the branches wove tighter and tighter, creating a shimmering portal of living wood and glowing leaves. "The forest," he gasped, "it's answering our call." As the portal reached its full formation, a sound like 1,000 wind chimes filled the air. The space within Lolo-Ammihan's branch-woven circle began to ripple and distort, as if reality itself was being bent. From this shimmering gateway, figures began to emerge, tall, lithe, and radiating power. They were the Encanto, beings from the mystic realm of Agatha, clad in armor that shone like liquid gold. Their eyes gleamed with otherworldly wisdom, and each step they took seemed to rejuvenate the forest around them. At their head strode a majestic figure, taller than the rest, with a crown of glowing flowers adorning his head. He spoke, his voice like the rustling of leaves and the rushing of rivers combined. "I am Lacon, Lord of Agatha. Maganhan has called, and we have answered. The shadow shall not prevail this day." Datu's shadow form recoiled at the sight of these new allies. "Impossible," he roared, his voice tinged with fear for the first time. "Agatha is but a myth." Lacon's eyes flashed with the light of 1,000 fireflies. "We are as real as the darkness you command, sorcerer. And we are here to remind you of the true power of nature and light." With a gesture from their leader, the Encanto soldiers sprang into action. They moved with fluid grace, their golden armor leaving trails of light that cut through Datu's shadows like sunbeams through mist. Where they touched the shadow creatures, the beasts dissolved into harmless wisps of darkness. Emboldened by this turn of events, Sitrong and his friends found renewed strength. Dali charged forward, her antlers now wreathed in the same glow as the forest leaves, scattering shadow beasts left and right. Dea took to the skies once more, her wings trailing stardust that burned away the darkness below. Buntai leapt from tree to tree, each glowing branch seeming to reach out to aid his jumps. Sitrong himself rose up, his serpentine body reflecting the light of the luminous forest around him. He faced Datu directly, his eyes shining with the combined power of Maganhan's magic. "You see now, Datu?" Sitrong's voice carried the authority of the forest itself. "True power comes not from domination, but from harmony with nature and all its creatures." Datu, his shadow form wavering under the onslaught of light and natural magic, lashed out in desperation. Tendrils of darkness shot towards Sitrong, but they were intercepted by Lolo-Ammihan's glowing branches, which burst forth from the ground to protect the guardian. Lacon stepped forward, raising a hand towards Datu. "Your path ends here, Shadow Wielder. Return to the light, or be banished from this realm forever." The Encanto soldiers began to chant in an ancient tongue, their voices weaving a spell of purification. The glow of the forest intensified, mixing with the golden light of the incanto to create a swirling vortex that surrounded Datu's writhing form. "No!" Datu screamed, his voice distorting as the light pierced his shadowy shell. "I won't be defeated. The darkness is eternal." Continuing from where you indicated, here's the expanded and revised battle scene. As the light pierced through Datu's shadowy form, his monstrous appearance began to melt away. The darkness receded, revealing a frail, thin old man with long white hair that cascaded down his back. In his gnarled hands, he clutched a large black tome, its cover adorned with arcane symbols that seemed to writhe and shift. Datu's eyes, though sunken, burned with an intense, manic light. "You think me defeated?" he rasped, his voice no longer booming but still filled with malice. With trembling fingers, he opened the book, its pages emitting a faint, sickly glow. As Datu began to chant in an eldritch tongue, the air around him shimmered with dark energy. Recognizing the danger, Lacon acted swiftly. He raised his hand, and a spear of pure light materialized in his grasp. With unerring accuracy, he hurled the spear towards the black tome. The spear of light struck the book dead center, resulting in a catastrophic explosion of supernatural energy. The blast sent Datu flying backward, slamming him against a tree. He slumped to the ground, coughing up blood, his frail body racked with pain. For a moment, it seemed the battle was over. But Datu, his face contorted with rage and desperation, reached for the talisman hanging around his neck. "If I cannot have the power I seek," he snarled, "then I shall embrace the darkness fully." With a violent motion, he tore the talisman from his neck and smashed it into the bloody dirt at his feet. The moment the talisman shattered, the ground began to glow with an ominous purple light. Black, inky tendrils erupted from the earth, writhing and pulsating with malevolent energy. Before anyone could react, the tendrils latched onto Datu, enveloping him in a cocoon of darkness. His agonized screams turned into a demonic howl as the dark energy possessed him, transforming him once again. From the cocoon emerged a nightmarish figure, Datu, now a twisted amalgamation of man and shadow, his eyes glowing with infernal fire. He raised his arms, and the purple-tinged earth trembled. "Rise, my nose." Datu's voice echoed with otherworldly power. "Devour the light." The ground split open, and from the fissures emerged terrifying creatures. Werewolf-like beasts with matted fur and razor-sharp claws clawed their way to the surface. Monstrous wolves with eyes like smoldering coals and teeth that gleamed like obsidian daggers prowled forward. Other indescribable horrors, born from the darkest nightmares, joined the ranks of Datu's new army. Lacon and his incanto soldiers, caught off guard by this sudden turn of events, found themselves on the defensive. The Aninos charged forward with supernatural speed and ferocity. A massive werewolf lunged at an incanto warrior, its claws raking against the golden armor. Sparks flew as light and darkness clashed. Another incanto thrust his spear into a shadow wolf, only to have the creature dissolve into mist and reform behind him, sinking its teeth into his shoulder. Lacon himself faced off against a towering monstrosity that seemed to be made of living shadow and bone. His sword of light carved through the creature's form, but for every piece he cut away, two more grew back. The tide of battle had shifted dramatically. The incanto, for all their power and skill, were being pushed back by the relentless onslaught of Datu's dark army. Amidst the chaos, Sitrong saw Dali cornered by three snarling shadow wolves. The deer fought bravely, her glowing antlers keeping the beasts at bay, but she was tiring quickly. Nearby, Buntai was trapped atop a tree, desperately throwing whatever he could find at the werewolves circling below. Without hesitation, Sitrong slithered towards his friends, determination burning in his eyes. He weaved through the battle, dodging claws and fangs, his body a blur of motion. Just as he reached Dali, sending two of their shadow wolves flying. With a powerful sweep of his tail, a dark figure loomed before him. Datu, his form now a terrifying blend of shadow and flesh, stood between Sitrong and his friends. At last, Guardian, Datu's voice dripped with malice, it's time to end this. In his hand, Datu held a dagger that seemed to be forged from pure darkness. Its edge flickered with purple flames, and the very air around it seemed to warp and twist. Sitrong reared up, ready to defend his friends and the forest he had sworn to protect. Your darkness will never triumph, Datu, he declared, the forest's light pulsing around him. With inhuman speed, Datu lunged forward. Sitrong moved to dodge, but he was a fraction too slow. The dark Balor struck true, its blade connecting with the carbuncle on Sitrong's forehead. There was a moment of terrible silence, then a sound like shattering crystal filled the air. The carbuncle, the source of Sitrong's power and his connection to Maganhan, cracked and then broke apart. As fragments of the mystical gem fell to the forest floor, Sitrong felt an overwhelming sense of loss and pain. The light in the forest flickered, and a collective gasp seemed to emanate from every tree and creature. Datu's triumphant laughter echoed through the battlefield, as Sitrong, weakened and disconnected from the forest's power, collapsed to the ground. The fate of Maganhan now hung by a thread, with its guardian fallen and the forces of darkness on the cusp of victory.
Thank you for joining us on this new tale of wonder and magic. Catch us next time for the exciting continuation of the adventure of Sitrong and his friends in the next chapter of The Serpent's Pearl here at Kababalaghan 101. We love to hear your thoughts about the story. Let us know in the comments section and share the video to your friends. If you like this kind of videos, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to show your support and help us produce more of these type of content for you. You can reach us through our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Say hi. We would love to hear from our friends and grow the community. Thank you, and stay spooky.